All right, so yesterday we had a quiz we took. It was our Unit 5 Quiz 5. If you haven't done that yet, make sure you go in and do it. Okay, every Wednesday you have something to do. It shouldn't take very long, it just should take some of your time, but make sure you get in and do that. Um, Looking at those of you that did take it, I see some stuff that we could go over to clear up some misunderstanding. So that's what we're going to do today. We're not going to do anything totally new. Instead, we're going to go over, do a little bit of review, and I'm actually going to, at the end, open up the quiz for you to take a third time if you've already done your 2 times. So today we're just going to be focused on wrapping up linear equations and focus on that quiz. Yeah, so I see in the chat there, if you already did the first time and you did your retake, well, at the end of class today, you'll actually be able to go in and do it a third time. So hopefully I want you to get a 6 out of 6. That's always my goal. Okay, Gregory, that's fine. The video will be posted online. It'll be linked to the quiz actually to help you out. All right, so Mr. McGibbon just posted the link to the answer key. We're gonna set that aside for a little bit though, and let's do some notes right now, okay? Let's focus on what we know about linear equations, and I'm gonna need some of your help on this too. So be thinking, be following along, and be prepared to share with us. So we're gonna title this Linear Equation Review. These are our notes. The first equation we learned was this one, y equals mx plus b. And notice my use of color here. This is really important. In these equations, we need to replace those green letters with some sort of number. And in this case, we know m is a slope and b is a y-intercept. Okay? So in this form, when we write it, it's always y equals, and there's always an x, but then these things get replaced with actual numbers in the final one, okay? But the x's and the y's, they just stay the way they are. We sometimes replace them and put in values and do math with them, as you've seen, but in just that equation, we just leave it like that. Okay, so as I'm going, if you have questions, wonderings, let me know. You're gonna find this useful for that quiz. The other form that we learned, the one that came after this, was the one that looked like this. And I'm gonna, again, use some color in a very strategic way. It always begins with y minus. That's what I always tell my brain when I'm doing this. I'm always thinking, okay, you know what, for this point slope form, always start by writing y minus. And then what comes next is this y sub 1, but I'm writing in a different color because really you want to replace that with a number once you get into your problem. You're not going to leave it as a y. Equals m, there's our slope again, parentheses, x minus, and then an x1. So you'll notice I got rid of the parentheses over on the left side because we don't need them. Really, the only ones we need are here. This is like the very simplified version of point slope. Again, all the things that are in green, we replace with actual numbers. We don't leave them like that. But notice too, the things that are in pencil, we leave those the way they are. We leave this as a y and we leave this as an x. That's one mistake people were making on their quizzes. They were leaving numbers in there. It's fine, you can plug numbers in, but you don't leave them in. The only numbers you leave in are these. So m is already the slope, we know that. In the ordered pair that made this point slope, the x1 is from the x in the ordered pair, and the y1 is from the y in the ordered pair. So if you have to figure out what those numbers are to plug them in. Okay. So we have one more form to go over, and then I'm going to need your help. It's kind of nice. You're not going to have any extra homework today after we're done. You're just going to have the quiz to work on. Okay, so this last one looks like this. I almost started to write with pencil, but I realized I have to write with pen at the very beginning. It goes like this. It goes a and then an x plus b and then a y equals c. So again, the a, b, and c all get replaced with numbers. The green isn't showing clearly. That's too bad. Maybe I could use a different. They're both really dark. Yeah. Do what we can. Let's see. Maybe. Nah. So you know what I'll do is I'll just kind of, why don't I circle maybe, highlight. You know what I'm going to highlight? I'm going to highlight underneath the ones that need to get replaced. So here's where the green is. It's right here, right here. These all get replaced with actual numbers when you're using the equation. And then down here, the A, B, and the C. The A, B, and C are a little tricky. They come from whatever problem you're dealing with, like in the polar bear problem, or not the polar bear problem, in the coin problem, or in some of the other word problems we did. It kind of tells you what the number is that needs to be multiplied out there. But with A, B, and C, A, B, C, they cannot be fractions. Or decimals. Mathematicians just have gotten together and have agreed, you know what, this is the rule, this is how standard form works. And it has to do with like slope and with like how they're used. So basically, if you get a fraction or a decimal, you have to multiply or change the numbers to make them whole numbers, just to keep it in standard form. Okay, so those are the three forms. They all show up on the quiz. And we're going to talk now about kind of mistakes that are often made when we're using these. So as we go through the next ones, you're going to write down anything that's missing or anything that might help you understand the problem better. Okay? All right. So let me show you problem one. And actually on your notes here, what you can do is you can do this. You can just write number one, and then you can copy it down as we go. But I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you it because I have already created it for you. There's this problem though. So I created this really cool slope-intercept equation, but my wonderful daughter Leah went in and put stickers all over it. She loves stickers. Actually, you know what? Let me show you the picture real quick. Let's see, where is it? We were playing outside yesterday, and her and her sister decided that they wanted to go on a car ride together. Let's see, here they are. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing this. Let me share it real quick here. So here are my two daughters. There's Leah and Sasha. Leah's in the back there holding her younger sister, and they're riding around their pink little car. And they're really into stickers. So Leah was really excited to help me with my math yesterday. She calls them numbers. She was helping with the numbers. But the problem is she just put stickers all over our work. So what we need to do is we need to figure out what was it that she covered up. Okay, and that's what you're going to put in your notes. This is kind of like a quiz problem. On the quiz, we had to create a slope-intercept equation. And we have like a table and we have a graph. And then over here, we have the beginning of the equation. So take a look at everything you can see here. You can see like your X values, your Y values. You can take a look at the graph. I can tell it's a negative slope because it's going down and to the right. Be careful of that. And then over here is the equation. So it looks like there's three things we're missing. Could someone in chat, can you let me know what do you wonder or notice about like this table over here and the butterfly? What's going on? What do you wonder or notice about this part over here? Or even the other parts too. this heart sticker or this dark blue butterfly over here too. Ah, okay. So I see people saying that the missing value over here would be a 3. I'd agree with that. Look at the graph. 1, 2, 3. So there's your y-intercept, 3. So on your notes, why don't you go ahead and include that the ordered pair here would be 0, 3. Natalie, she's advanced. She's a very good sticker placer. She's very careful where she places her stickers. Yeah. It does say slope-intercept equation, so we don't have to worry about standard form or point slope, because now we're going to start to focus in over here. Okay, so let me put in our notes. Where did my notes go? I'm covering up. So far in your notes, you should have this at the very minimum, that we have 0, 3, right? That's the thing that's being covered. Now we're going to get over to the equation. Okay, so with the equation, help me out with it. And some of you already have. I noticed some people talking about the slope. They were looking at the table here and they were talking about how the x's are going up by 2's. Let me see if I can go back to the comments here. What are we? So now I'm thinking, what are you wondering and noticing about over here? What would go in? This was our equation that got covered up. Someone says that it's probably a negative slope of negative 1.5.
Yeah, somebody shared that with me as well.
Okay. Yeah, and someone else here said it goes from, on the table, it's going from 2 to 4. And then on the other side, it's adding negative 3. It looks like the equation is y equals mx plus b. Yep, that'd be slope-intercept. I see 3 people now saying that the slope is negative 1.5. So change in y over change in x, right? So the y's are going down by 3's, and the x's are going up by 2's. So change in y down 3, up 2. So we could write over here, down 3, up 2. You know what? Just leave it as a fraction. Don't make it a decimal. It is negative 1.5, but like, why do that extra step? You don't need to. Just leave it like that. Maybe if you were going to type it in, it'd be easier to type it as a decimal. Okay, so there. I agree. That is our slope, or negative 1.5. But it's better to leave it as a fraction if you can. Okay. So some of you might miss that on the quiz. You might get the wrong slope. Let's see, I had someone write in the whole equation here. They said this is what's missing. They wrote y equals negative 1.5x plus 3. I think I'd agree with that. Yeah. Down 3 over 2. You can even see the slope right here. Down 3 over 2. So negative 3/2 x plus 1.5, or plus 3. Yeah, so there we go. So the equation for this one then would be y equals negative 1.5 x plus 3, or the way I like it more is if you just leave it as a fraction. It's going to help you later on, like in geometry and stuff, if you leave it like that. Questions, comments, concerns, wonderings about number 1?
Mr. Warhol, one other reason why I like using the fraction for the slope is that if you do have to plot it on a graph, it's right there. You can go down 3 for the y and over 2 for the x, and it just shows you that right there. That it's kind of like that's kind of your blueprint for for your slope for plotting points.
It's kind of funny, so I've taught 5th grade math all the way up to high school. And it's funny because in 5th grade and like 6th grade, you always teach students to simplify your fractions. Don't leave them as improper fractions. Don't use them. And now in algebra, we're like, leave it. All right, we have another one. On your notes, go ahead and number 2. Ah, there are the stickers again. It says make the slope-intercept equation, and kind of like the one we just did before. There's a table, there's a graph, and there's an equation. I want you to go ahead and see if you can do the whole thing now. So take a look at what's going on, and in your notes, go ahead and write down what it is that's missing. And then once you have it, you can tell us in the chat. Or you can compare what you get to what people post in chat. Yeah, it's really her that put them on there. I don't play with stickers. Leah does.
She might have had some help though. She might have had some help in putting them there.
Nah, she doesn't like help. She doesn't like help. She only likes help if she's trying to climb up on something that she can't reach. So I can tell by the graph, because the line's going up and to the right, it's going to be a positive slope. Always got to watch out for those positives and negatives. So once you think you have it, go ahead and post in the chat what's missing here. Okay, I see two of you saying that in the table, the missing part, the missing number is a 0. Yep, I'd agree. That looks right to me. And then we're working on the equation. Be careful of your slope. This is a positive slope. The change in y is positive. No, the change in y is negative. Ooh, what's going on there? The change in y is negative. Oh, but the change in x is also negative. Interesting. So on the table, the numbers are going down on both sides. Well, if you have negative change over negative change, it's going to give a positive number. Because look at this. It's a positive slope. You should have a positive number there. Again, common mistake on the quiz. If you have a negative divided by a negative, it's positive. So I'm seeing some answers come in. Some of them are right, some of them are wrong. Anyone want to post publicly what you think the slope might be or what the equation might be? I've seen like 3 different answers come across so far. You can check your slope by looking at the graph. You can check your slope by looking at the table. Thank you, all of you participating. It'd be really great if everyone participated. All right, those of you saying 1/4, yeah, you're right. Rise 1, run 4. Or in this case, it'd be -1 over -4. So that would just be 1/4. Okay, and yeah, let's leave it as a fraction. So our equation then, we're going to use the y-intercept, we're going to use the slope. So in our notes, we could write this. We could write for number 2. What was missing was that 0, -1. And our equation would be y equals 1/4x minus 1. So Georgia, this was the missing number right there, the 0. Okay, questions, comments, concerns, wonderings? This is helping a little bit, hopefully. Starting point. There's a question about a starting point. So it depends on where you want to start. A lot of times with slope-intercept, you want to start at the y-intercept. So your starting point might be -1, because that is usually kind of like where a problem begins or a word problem begins is like at the beginning, at the 0. But if we look at our table over here, the table begins at 4, 0. So there's not really like a starting point. In the slope-intercept, there's a y-intercept of -1. There's a slope of 1 over 4. And that's everything we know. We know the table, we know the graph, and now we know the equation too. So if I had to answer this, if like the quiz asked what is the starting point, then I might say 0, -1 is the y-intercept. I think that's how I'd answer that question, but that's kind of a tough question to answer because it goes forever in both directions like that. Okay, so that's slope-intercept. We're going to go on and we're going to look at point slope next. So in our notes, we are going to go on then to number 3. And I've gotten these problems based on those of you that have taken the quiz. I looked at kind of your common mistakes and what's going on. So we're looking at real life problems that like we're stumbling on. Ooh, look at that. It's a green heart and a blue butterfly. She put them on upside down though. So this says make the point slope equation. We have a table, we have a graph, we have the beginning of an equation. And so what we need to do is we need to look at this and figure out what's missing. I noticed this is kind of nice. They gave us the slope. I don't have to worry about that anymore. Rise 3, run 2. That matches the table, the graph, that's all good. But so something's missing out here and something's missing over here. If you can come up with the equation, do you want to just post it in chat? Can we just share kind of all the ideas we're getting? Excuse me, kind of all the ideas we're getting and we can talk about it. One person wrote to me that they're going to use the -2 and the 4. Yeah, that's what I would do. In point slope, you always need to use a point and a slope. They gave us the slope, so now we just need to use a point to make the equation. Thank you, Cooper. Any other ideas? When I write point slope, I always start by writing y minus. Always. Slope intercept starts with y equals. Point slope starts with y minus. Thank you, Mateo. Mateo, you got it. Cooper, you got it. There's just a little mistake you need to fix, Cooper. It's just a small thing. Okay, thank you, Ellie. Thank you, Segal. Thank you, Maya. Maya, you made a common mistake a lot of people make, and we're going to talk about it here in just a second. Ellie, you also made a mistake, Ellie. Common mistake everyone makes. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about it then, and let's talk about those mistakes. So right here in the table, we're going to use one of these to make our equation. And to keep our life simple, we're just going to choose this top one. Okay, we're not going to use this bottom one. So I'm going to use the -2 and the 4. So let me go back to the notes then. We know that we have -2, 4 as one of the ordered pairs. And look what we said before. In the equation, the only thing we're putting numbers in for is here, here, and here. We're not going to put any numbers in for that x or that y. We're going to leave them as x and y. Okay, that's one mistake a lot of people make, is they plug in every single number and then they don't leave the x and y. You have to leave the x and y. because those can change depending on how you're using the equation. The only time you replace them is if like you needed to figure out the slope, or if you were like checking a value to see if it worked. But other than that, you leave it as x and y. That's why when I write it, I always write y minus. That way I remember, don't put a number in there, just leave it alone. Okay, so those of you making that mistake, don't plug in, let's see, the other ordered pair was 0, 7. Don't plug in the 7 over there, okay, or the 4. No, just leave it like that. Instead here, we're gonna plug in the 4. And then they told us the slope was 3/2. And a common mistake people make is instead of the 4, they plug in the -2 there. That's a common mistake too, and I do that a lot just because the -2 came first, and here you are first, so you're like, oh, I'm just gonna put it over there. But what I do is I write my xy at the top just to remind myself. The 4 goes here. The -2 comes next over here. Minus -2 changes it to +2. So those of you that wrote this equation, you were right. That's what was covered up by the butterflies and the heart. Okay. We're going to try another one kind of like that, and you can practice it a little bit more, and you can watch out for those mistakes. And there's some other things that might come up too. Okay, we're going to do one more example. This is going to be number 4. All right. Number 4 says, make the point slope equation. Oh man, Leah really went all out here. Look at all those stickers. They're big ones too. So make the point slope equation. No graph this time. Ooh, that might be kind of tough. Okay, but we have it. Well, we had a table, but it's been covered. We have kind of an equation going on there. Ooh, there's a lot to unpack here. I guess this is just kind of start at the beginning. Let's start up here. What was covered up by this? Thank you, Addison. Thank you. A lot of you are putting it in now. Thank you. Yeah, this was a y, right? It always starts with y minus. So if on my notes, I might be writing this. I might write y minus. Oh, I'm going to do what Mr. McGibbon did earlier. I'm going to put these kind of side by side like this. So the y was covered. Ooh, why is this a plus and not a minus? Thank you, Mateo. The question was, yeah, the question was, why is this a plus? Like it's supposed to be a minus, right? Thank you, Ethan. Yeah. Yeah, good, because it was a negative. Good, you guys got it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write that down here in my ordered pair. This was a -3, right? The y was a -3. That's why this became a plus, was because they used a -3 to make it. Good. See how we kind of unpack the equation? We just start going through it. Our slope is -4. We can see it there. What was covered up by this butterfly? Thank you, Ethan, Mateo, Addison, Sebastian. Yep, an X. Ooh, now we know there's an 8 over here. We have to figure out, was this a plus or a minus? You know what? I don't think there's enough information for us to know that, is there? We have no idea. I don't think there's any way for us to know. Thankfully, I remember it was a minus. So Leah got a little tricky there. She covered up something that we needed to know, but it was a minus. I remember making this problem. So we know the equation now. We kind of have an ordered pair. Ooh, can we fill in this spot? What would we put over here? Thank you, Mateo. Thank you, Addison. Yeah, we might not need to figure it out. I don't know, but you know, since we can figure out, may as well, just to see if we're going to use it later. This would be an 8, right? Because of the 8 over there. Okay, so let's finish our table. We're almost done. Here's that table. It all got covered up in the table. You always want to have at least 2 values, 2 ordered pairs. We know one of them, 8, -3. That was the one that they used to make that equation. So now what we need to do is we need to figure out the other one. Let's see. Yeah, so Ellie, I'm kind of thinking along, kind of similar to what you're thinking, a little bit differently though. I'm thinking now that we have this, we can figure out one more value. Let's figure out what would go here and here. So what would like the next ordered pair be, right? Yeah, the slope is going down by 4. So remember, the slope is change in y over change in x. So we want to go down 4. You know what would be helpful is if the 4 was a fraction. Let's make it a fraction. There you go. Does that help a little bit? Our slope is -4, but let's just call it -4/1. Yeah, see? That's why we like fractions. So I've been seeing lots of great ideas. Can we give it just as an ordered pair? What would the ordered pair be here? Thank you, Maya. Any other ideas? What would the ordered pair, the next ordered pair be? We know the slope. We know how much it's all changing. So we just need to change the y's by 4 and change the x's by 1. So change the y's by 4, change the x's by 1. If you said 9, -7, you'd be correct. And it would keep going, right? It'd go then 10, -11, and on and on and on and on. Okay, so the point of showing you this was you can figure out the ordered pairs if you know the slope and if you know kind of where you were at on the line. You need some place to begin, and you can figure that out by looking at what did they use to make the equation. Okay. All right, so here is what you're going to do next. We are done taking notes. You're done with your lesson today. You are going to use these to help you on the quiz. It's that Unit 5, Quiz 5. Oh, let's see. How do you know if it's a plus in the parentheses? Oh, so yeah, let's just talk about that a little bit. In point slope, it's always subtraction. If you see a plus, then that happened because one of these numbers was negative. Okay? So that's the only thing you really need to remember about the plus in the parentheses, is that it came because the x was negative. Because in this form, it's always subtraction. So take your notes. You're going to go do Unit 5, Quiz 5. It's in your Working Wednesday folder. It's not going to show up on your assignment list just because it was yesterday's. But go in. If you can't find it, let me know. And I've opened it up. Everyone can take it 3 times now. So if you've already taken it twice, if you got a perfect score, then you don't have anything to do. You can just go in and look at your perfect score and see how you did. But other than that, everyone's going to go in. You're going to take it again. We're going to stick on Zoom here for a little bit. And if you get stuck, if you have questions, just let me know. You can post it in chat. You can ask. But I'm here, and Mr. McGibbon is also here right now to help you with that quiz, to help you get through it. So log in, try it out, and yeah, let's work on that.